The Moonlight Uber Driver. Prologue. The Weight of the Night. Simone adjusted the rearview mirror out of habit, even though she was the only one reflected back. A 42-year-old single mom with tired eyes, a braided bun that had slipped into a loose knot, and a quiet ache in her chest that hadn't eased in nearly a year. It's just another night, just another shift. The dashboard clock blinked 9:57 p.m. Layla was home from her after-school job, and Marcus had just finished dinner, leftovers she prepped that morning between laundry and school drop-offs. She'd kissed both teenagers goodnight, though they barely stirred. They were used to her nighttime departures now. The graveyard shift wasn't just a job, it was her compromise. Drive nights. Be there for her kids during the day. Keep moving. Keep everything moving. That's what Renee would have said. Keep moving, Simone. You stop, and the weight catches up. Simone's hands tightened on the steering wheel at the thought of her sister. Renee's laugh used to fill this car on late-night runs for ice cream or spontaneous road trips to nowhere. Now there was only the soft hum of the engine and the occasional phantom echo of that laugh when Simone was too tired to separate memory from reality. She tapped the rideshare app. Online. The first ping came almost instantly. Pickup. Dre. 2.1 miles. All right, she whispered into the night. Let's see what you got for me tonight. Chapter 1. The Young Dreamer. The pickup spot was a dim corner outside a 24-hour deli where a few teens clustered in hoodies, swiping through phones and cracking jokes that hung like smoke in the chilly air. Dre slid into the back seat, backpack slung over one shoulder and a camcorder balanced on his knee. "You Simone?" he asked, eyes hopeful but wary. "That's me? You Dre?" "Yeah," he exhaled, like he'd been holding his breath for hours. "Can we head to Midtown? East 49th?" "You got it." As they pulled into traffic, Dre stared out the window, the streetlights catching the sharp lines of his face, the face of a boy stepping into manhood too fast. His fingers tapped a rhythm against the camcorder like a nervous tick. "Late night filming?" Simone asked, trying to break the silence. "Nah, meeting with some guys about a documentary idea. My prof said it's ambitious but naive." He mimicked air quotes, then sighed. "She basically told me to quit dreaming and focus on my business major." Simone smiled softly. Professors like to play it safe, especially when they see someone who reminds them of who they used to be. "You think?" He turned toward her, earnest. "I know. My sister used to say dreams are heavy but worth carrying." The words spilled out before she could stop them. Renee's words. Dre nodded slowly. "Heavy, that's the right word." At a red light, Simone glanced at him in the mirror. "What's the film about?" "People who carry dreams they were never allowed to chase. Like folks who had to give up when life got hard." A beat passed. "I almost didn't come tonight," he added. "Almost quit altogether." Simone felt a chill, not from the cold, but the weight of a familiar crossroad. "But you didn't." "No," he whispered. "Something told me I had to keep going." As they neared the drop-off, Dre leaned forward. "Thanks for listening. I know you probably hear crazy stuff every night." "Sometimes," Simone smiled, "but sometimes I hear things I was meant to hear." He chuckled, unzipping his backpack to grab his wallet. "No need," Simone waved him off. "It's already on the app." Before he stepped out, Dre paused. "You know, my mom works at Mercy General. She used to talk about this patient, Renee, who—" "Never mind. Probably not the same person." Simone's breath caught. She forced a nod. "Good luck, Dre." He grinned. "You too." As he disappeared into the midtown glow, Simone sat for a moment longer, the weight in her chest shifting, lighter, heavier, both. The next ride request pinged. "Pickup, Rosa." 3.8 miles. Chapter 2. The Night Nurse. The pickup address led her to a small apartment complex tucked between a shuttered laundromat and a corner bodega. Simone spotted a woman seated on the low brick wall, scrolling through her phone, her nurse's scrubs, soft blue in the moonlight. Rosa slid into the front seat with a tired groan. "Mercy General, please." Simone's pulse jumped at the name, but kept her expression neutral. "Rough shift." "Same as every night," Rosa replied. "Short-staffed, too many patients, not enough hands." As they drove, Rosa massaged her temples. "You know, nights like these make you think about all the lives you touch, the ones you remember, the ones you don't." Simone murmured agreement. "Years ago, I treated this woman, Renee." Rosa's voice softened. "Car accident. She kept asking for her sister. I stayed with her during the quiet hours. She had this calm, like she knew things would be okay, even if she wouldn't be." Simone's knuckles whitened around the steering wheel. "She made me promise to tell her sister something." Rosa paused. "But I never found her. The hospital tried, but there was no contact info." Simone's breath came shallow. "What was the message?" she asked, almost a whisper. Rosa glanced out the window. She said, "Tell my sister not to carry the blame. It wasn't her fault, and to keep moving forward." Simone blinked fast, the streetlights blurring into lines of gold and silver. "I'm sorry," Rosa said. "Didn't mean to ramble. Long nights make me sentimental." "No," Simone whispered. "Thank you." As they pulled up to Mercy General, Rosa gave a grateful smile and stepped out. Simone watched her enter the sliding glass doors, disappearing into the same hospital that had once changed everything. Her phone chimed again. Next pickup, Brother Eli, 1.2 miles. Chapter 3. The Philosopher Driver. Simone didn't recognize the pickup address at first. A shuttered library with boarded windows and an old mural fading beneath layers of graffiti. It was quiet, not eerie, just expectant. Then she noticed the car parked just ahead. An older model Crown Vic, matte black with a dusty windshield. Its lights blinked once like a nod, and a man stepped out. Long coat, brown knit hat, beard flecked with gray. He carried an old satchel and moved with deliberate calm. He tapped gently on Simone's window. "Mind if I ride with you a minute?" Simone hesitated. "Your brother Eli?" "That's what they call me. Used to be Mr. Ellis, but titles get heavy, don't they?" He slid into the passenger seat without waiting for permission. The car smelled like peppermint and sage now, or maybe that was just him. "You drive?" Simone asked. "Used to. Still do, sometimes. These nights get lonely without purpose. I like to remember how people move through the dark." Simone glanced at the app. No route loaded, no destination. You need a ride somewhere?" "Nope." He leaned back with a soft sigh. "Just needed to be in motion. Sometimes it's not the getting there that matters. It's who you roll with along the way." She considered kicking him out. Something about him screamed street mystic, the kind who knew things he wasn't supposed to. "You look tired, Sister Driver," he said, turning to face her fully. "Not sleep tired, soul tired." Simone's grip on the wheel stiffened. "You got eyes like someone trying to remember where she put her piece," he added, voice low. "You always talk like this?" she asked, keeping her tone light. "Only when I see someone circling the same emotional block, night after night." His words hit something in her chest, too specific, too true. "I'm just doing my job," she muttered. "Mm-hmm. That's what all the ghosts say." Simone looked at him sharply. "What ghosts?" He tapped his heart. "The ones you carry, the ones you think you buried, but they're just riding shotgun, whispering regret and what ifs while you pretend not to hear. A long silence stretched between them as the car idled. You know Renee? Simone asked suddenly, unsure why she did. Eli smiled. I know love when it leaves a mark. You talk like someone who lost their anchor. Now you just drift. That hit too close. She died in my arms, Simone said softly. And I lived. That's the part I can't. She swallowed the rest. He nodded like he already knew. She left you with more than grief. She left you with her light, but you're using it like a flashlight in reverse, only looking behind you. Simone blinked, trying to stay grounded. The night felt thinner suddenly, stretched between worlds. She told someone to tell me something, Simone said. And tonight, someone finally did. He smiled. The night has a way of returning what was lost, if you stay open. She turned to him, heart pounding. Who are you? I'm a man who once lost his brother and thought silence was justice. But silence is just a slow kind of dying. He unbuckled his seatbelt. You keep driving, sister driver, but don't drive in circles. There's a difference between moving and going somewhere. He stepped out just as quietly as he entered. She didn't remember starting the engine again, but when she checked the mirror, Brother Eli's car was gone. So was his ride request. Her phone buzzed. The app lit up with a new ping. Pick up Tasha, 4.5 miles. Simone stared at the name. Familiar. Not just the name, but the feeling attached to it. She took a breath, shifted the car into drive, and rolled forward. Chapter 4. The Unspoken Distance. Simone pulled up outside a modest two-story house in East Elmhurst. Porch light on. A shadow paced along the front steps, long arms folded across a narrow chest. The boy looked no older than 17, maybe 18, with a buzz cut, a black hoodie, and sneakers that tapped the pavement like a metronome of nerves. He slid into the back seat and immediately turned his head to the window. To 166th and Northern, he mumbled. You can take the Parkway. Simone entered the address. 20-minute ride. She waited a beat before pulling off, sensing the tension hovering in the car like a second presence. Rough night? She asked gently. Nope. His tone was sharp, clipped, but his foot bounced nonstop, heel tapping the floor. Silence fell like a thick curtain. Simone let it sit for a while, then spoke again. You heading home or heading away? The boy scoffed. I'm heading to my mom's. Not that she deserves it. Simone arched a brow, but kept her voice steady. She call you? Yeah, he muttered. Again. After, 2 years of nothing. Now she wants to talk. Simone nodded. So, you're going? Yeah, to say what I need to say. Then bounce. A pause. You know, Simone said, I used to think talking meant just saying your piece. Now I think it's more about what you're willing to hear. He didn't answer, but his tapping foot stopped. Simone continued, eyes on the road. My son, Marcus, he's 15. Just hit that stage where he thinks he knows more than me. And maybe in some ways he does. But what I wish for him more than anything is that when we talk, he listens. Really listens. Not to my mistakes, but to my intentions. To the fact that I showed up the best way I knew how. The boy blinked rapidly, still looking out the window. My mom left when I was little, he finally said. Came back for a minute when I was 10. Left again when I was 11. She was always chasing something. Jobs, men, new lives. Now I'm supposed to sit at her table and talk like nothing happened. Simone nodded slowly. Sounds like you've got every right to be angry. He looked at her reflection in the mirror. But you still got in this car. He opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. Simone's voice softened. Maybe she's still chasing something, but maybe now she's chasing you. They drove in silence for the next few miles, the city blurred by in yellow streaks and flashing traffic signals. As they pulled up outside a weathered brownstone, a porch light flickered on. A woman stood in the doorway, arms folded, face unreadable in the half-light. The boy hesitated. "You don't have to forget," Simone said, "but don't leave without listening, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts." He nodded once, grabbed his phone, and stepped out. Halfway to the door, he stopped and turned back. "Thanks, Ms. Simone. Thanks, Simone." He turned again, walked up the steps. The door opened. She didn't watch what happened next. She just drove. As the car rolled forward, Simone thought about Layla, her 17-year-old, all fire and silence, and Marcus, whose sarcasm masked a heart too big for his chest. "I hope they'll listen to me one day," she thought. "I hope I'll know how to speak when it counts." The night stretched ahead. The next ping buzzed. Pickup. Malik. 6.7 miles. Simone blinked. That name. Chapter 5. The Silent Passenger. Simone pulled into the designated pickup, a late-night youth shelter in the Bronx. The building was quiet, but not asleep, its worn bricks bathed in the yellow glow of a flickering street lamp. A security guard leaned against the doorway, nodding toward a lone figure sitting on the stoop with a backpack pressed tightly to his chest. The boy stood slowly and approached her car with the wary, measured steps of someone used to being let down. He opened the back door but said nothing, just gave a brief nod before sinking into the seat, eyes low, body folded into itself like a letter never sent. Simone confirmed the address, Rosewood Avenue, a residential area several miles away. As she pulled off, she glanced at him in the mirror. "Malik?" she asked softly. No reply. He was young, maybe 14 or 15. Brown skin, slightly gaunt cheeks, a busted pair of headphones around his neck. His shoelaces were double knotted like someone had done it for him years ago, and he never changed the habit. "Long day?" she tried. Still silence. That was okay. Simone had learned that not all stories needed to be told out loud. Some could be felt. This boy carried a storm in his chest. As they drove, she let the hum of the engine and the rhythm of the tires fill the silence. She remembered Marcus at that age, how he used to go quiet for days after the accident, how he'd write in a notebook but never let her read it, how he would hug her tight but wouldn't say why he was scared. They stopped at a red light. The boy shifted slightly and pulled a tattered notebook from his hoodie pocket. The front cover was covered in doodles, planets, shoes, a name in cursive. Renee. Simone's breath hitched. He didn't notice, or maybe he did, but didn't let on. He simply tucked the notebook away and stared out the window again. As they reached the drop-off, a small single-story house, he reached into his hoodie again and pulled something out, a cloth bracelet, and dropped it on the seat. He gave Simone a quick nod of thanks, then left the car and disappeared into the house without a word. Simone stared down at the bracelet. It was frayed at the edges, handmade. Embroidered with tiny blue thread were the words, "Mercy 107B, be still." She knew that room number. She knew that phrase. Renee had whispered it in the hospital, over and over. "Be still, Simone. Be still." The bracelet must have been made by the hospital chaplain's art program. She remembered Renee saying she'd given it to a nurse to pass along to a kid who looked like her nephew. Simone's hands trembled as she picked it up. Somehow, the universe, or maybe Renee herself, had just handed it back. She clutched it to her chest, closed her eyes. "You're still here," she thought. "You never left." The night was quiet again, But this time it didn't feel empty. It felt full, full of whispers, full of meaning, full of people carrying pieces of Renee and unknowingly returning them to her. The app buzzed again. Pick up. Mrs. Patrice Williams, 1.4 miles. Chapter 6. The Widow. The pickup address led Simone to a quiet cul-de-sac where porch lights flickered and wind chimes danced in the breeze. A figure stood at the edge of the sidewalk, short, elegant, wrapped in a dark shawl. Her silver-gray hair caught the moonlight like spun glass. She opened the passenger door before Simone could even announce herself. "You must be Simone," she said gently, settling into the seat like it was a familiar embrace. Simone blinked. "Yes, ma'am. And you're Mrs. Williams?" "Patrice," the woman corrected. "But yes, Mrs. Williams if we're being formal. Mercy General, please." Simone tapped the location into her phone, but couldn't help glancing sideways. "How did you know my name?" Patrice smiled, eyes forward. "Your sister talked about you." Simone froze. "I run a grief support group," Patrice continued, folding her hands over her bag. "Have for about 15 years now. Renee came a few times after your mother passed. You were younger back then, still trying to figure out how to grieve and raise two children at the same time." Simone said nothing. Her chest tightened in that familiar way grief liked to return, not as a scream, but as a quiet tap on the shoulder. "I remember thinking," Patrice went on, "those two sisters, they're going to need each other more than they know." The streetlights passed like slow heartbeats. "She said you were the strong one," Patrice said softly. "The one who kept everything running. Bills, groceries, kids, appointments. But she said she was the one who held the memories. Said you didn't have time to stop and remember." Simone swallowed hard. "I still don't." Patrice nodded like she expected that answer. "She gave me a picture once," Patrice said, "of you two holding hands at a fair. Said, if something happens to me, tell her we had more joy than sorrow. Tell her I remembered everything." Simone blinked back tears. Her grip on the steering wheel tightened as if the car itself was holding her together. "I meant to find you," Patrice said, "but I didn't know how. I only recognized your name tonight by chance. Or maybe not by chance at all." They drove the rest of the way in silence, warm, sacred silence. When they arrived at Mercy General, Patrice didn't move to get out right away. Instead, she looked at Simone with something between affection and certainty. "You're not carrying her grief," she said. "You're carrying her light." Simone looked away, unable to speak. Patrice touched her hand gently. "Stop trying to drive it away. Let it ride with you, but let it comfort, not crush." And with that, she stepped out, shawl fluttering behind her like the hem of a prayer. Simone sat there long after she'd gone inside. No music, no app buzz, just the steady thrum of her heartbeat. Not grief, light. The distinction was everything. Midnight check-in. Simone's hands rested on the steering wheel, unmoving. The glow of the hospital behind her faded in the mirror as she sat parked near an empty intersection, heart still echoing with Patrice's words. "You're not carrying her grief. You're carrying her light." She didn't know whether to cry or exhale, maybe both. Her phone buzzed in the cup holder. Layla calling. Simone blinked, surprised. It was nearly 1 a.m. She picked up, voice soft. "Hey, baby, you okay?" Layla's voice came through with a mixture of sleep and concern. "Yeah, I just got up to get a glass of water and I don't know. I wanted to check on you." Simone smiled, her heart warming instantly. "You're turning into your auntie. Renee used to say the same thing. I just felt like calling." "She always said the night carries secrets," Layla replied. "That's why we gotta speak them out loud or they weigh us down." Simone rested her head against the headrest. You remember everything she said, don't you? Layla paused. Pretty much. Marcus pretends he doesn't, but I hear him playing her gospel records sometimes when he's doing homework. Simone laughed quietly. That boy's got an old soul. So do you, Layla said. A quiet beat passed. Are you okay, Mom? The question hit Simone deeper than expected. I'm I'm trying to be, she said honestly. Tonight's been a night. Layla exhaled softly. I know you've been hurting. We all have. But Marcus and I, we see you, Mom. You're here. You show up, even when you're tired, even when you're sad. Simone felt a tear slip free, warm against her cheek. You two are the reason I breathe, she whispered. The reason I keep driving. We know. And we got you too. Not just on Mother's Day either, Layla said with a soft laugh. Simone smiled through the tears. You better not just say that 'cause you want waffles in the morning. Layla gasped. You are making waffles though, right? Simone laughed fully now, a deep belly laugh that shook something loose inside her. Go to bed, child. I'll be home before sunrise. Okay, love you, Ma. Love you more. As the call ended, Simone sat in silence, her fingers lightly tracing the edges of the cloth bracelet Malik had left behind. She looked up at the moon, still hanging heavy and bright in the night sky, and whispered, I'm still here, sis. I'm still driving. Her app buzzed again. Simone stared at the address. Her childhood home. Chapter 7. The Last Ride. Pickup. No name. Location. 32 to 40. Corsa Avenue. Simone stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over the Accept button. Corsa Avenue? She hadn't set foot near that house in years. It was the place where she and Renee grew up, where they played double dutch on cracked concrete, danced to mixtapes in their bedroom, whispered late-night secrets through thin walls. It was also the house her parents lost to medical debt, a house filled with memories too sharp to visit casually. She pressed Accept. The drive there was quiet. The GPS led her through winding, narrow streets she hadn't taken since her 20s. As she approached, her breath caught. The house was still there. 32 to 40 Corsa Avenue stood just as she remembered it, worn but proud. Porch light dim, vines curling up the side like a hand reaching skyward. The front gate creaked as if it recognized her. She pulled over. No one was waiting. She checked the app. Still active. No updates. Simone stepped out of the car, every step toward the gate heavy with memory. Just as she reached the bottom of the porch steps, the front door opened, and there she was, Renee, wearing her old house robe and yellow slippers, hair wrapped in a deep red scarf. She looked just like she did in the days before the accident, vibrant, alive, full of that calm fire only Renee had ever mastered. Simone's knees nearly gave out. I must be dreaming, she whispered. Maybe, Renee replied, her voice like wind through chimes. Or maybe you're just finally listening. Simone swallowed hard. I'm so sorry. For what? For not knowing what to do. For surviving. For not being enough for you, the kids, or anyone. For not saving you. Renee shook her head with a soft smile and sat on the top porch step. You think survival is failure? She asked. Simone, you kept going. That was the whole plan. Simone's voice broke. But I didn't live. I just drove. I've been driving in circles for a year. Then stop circling, Renee said. Choose a direction. Choose your direction. I don't know how. Renee leaned in. Yes, you do. You've been doing it all night. Picking up pieces of me and strangers. Listening. Healing. That's how you start. Simone sat beside her, the night air folding around them like a shawl. I miss you, she whispered. I'm right here, Renee said, placing a hand over Simone's heart. I never left. A breeze passed between them, gentle and warm. Renee stood. It's almost dawn, she said. Time for you to go home. Simone stood slowly, tears fresh but no longer frantic. Will I see you again? She asked. Every time you laugh, every time you say no when it's easier to say yes, every time you love those babies like they deserve. Renee smiled. Now go make waffles. You promised Layla. Simone laughed through a sob. She did ask. Of course she did. Renee turned toward the door, then paused. Be still, Simone, but don't be stuck. The door closed gently behind her. Simone stood there a moment longer, the sky just beginning to hint at dawn. She walked back to the car, climbed in, and looked at the app. Offline. She smiled. That felt right. For the first time in a long time, Simone drove home, not just with her hands, but with her heart. Chapter 8. Driving toward dawn. The streets were beginning to yawn open. Storefront gates rattled as early risers prepared for the day. Delivery trucks hummed past shuttered cafes. The sky, once an endless stretch of ink, was bleeding into a soft pink horizon. Simone turned down her block just as the sun teased the tops of brownstone roofs. She parked in front of her building, engine ticking softly as it cooled. She didn't move right away. The cloth bracelet Malik had left was still looped around her gearshift. She reached out and touched it, then slowly removed it and wrapped it around her wrist. Be still. Not a command to freeze, but a reminder to root. She stepped out of the car and stretched, her spine releasing tension she hadn't even realized she carried. The overnight bag in the back seat, emergency snacks, spare hoodie, migraine pills, remained untouched. She left it there. Simone climbed the stairs to her apartment, key sliding into the lock like muscle memory. The scent of cinnamon and lavender hit her first, Layla's favorite night oil. The hallway was quiet, except for the soft hum of Marcus's laptop behind his bedroom door. She padded into the kitchen. A note was taped to the fridge in Layla's loopy handwriting. Waffles, please. Love you, heart eyes. Underneath, in Marcus's sharper scrawl, and eggs. You forgot me last time. Simone smiled, pressing the paper to her chest. She moved through the motions of making breakfast like a ritual, cracking eggs, whisking batter, pulling down the old waffle iron Renee had given her when Layla was born. As the first waffle hissed and steamed, she glanced toward the small corkboard by the pantry. It held family photos, toddler smiles, holiday chaos, sleepy birthday mornings. She reached into her purse and pulled out the cloth bracelet, now wrapped around the photo of her and Renee at the state fair, the one where they wore matching shirts and cotton candy smiles. Simone pinned it there gently. Layla shuffled in, eyes puffy, hair wild, hoodie half on. Waffles? She asked. Almost ready. Marcus appeared behind her, taller than he had any right to be at 15, clutching a cereal bowl like backup in case she forgot. Eggs too, I promise, Simone said before he could speak. They sat together at the table, yawning, mumbling, laughing over nothing. Simone looked at them, really looked, their faces, their eyes, their still sleepy souls. This, this was life after grief, not the absence of pain, but the decision to stay anyway, to wake up, to feed your children, to laugh when it hurts, to drive toward dawn. And for the first time since Renee's accident, Simone didn't feel like she was holding on by a thread. She felt like she was home. Epilogue. The new route. 2 years later. The sun was up before Simone today. A rare occurrence. She stood at the window of her modest but warm two-bedroom apartment in Queens, watching as the early light touched everything gold. Her coffee steamed gently in hand, her houseplants soaking up light beside her, and gospel music hummed low from the Bluetooth speaker on the counter. In the corner, her desk was covered with flyers for a new support group she'd started last year. Still here, healing spaces for women who carry everything. Tuesday evenings, donation based, no pressure, just presence. It had taken a while to get it off the ground, some months full, others quiet, but it gave her purpose beyond survival. She no longer drove nights. She now worked mornings part-time at a community center and afternoons as a parent liaison at Marcus's high school. It paid modestly, but it left her time. Time to be at every performance, every game, every late-night talk at the kitchen table. Layla, now 19, was in her second year at SUNY Purchase studying psychology. To figure out people like us, she joked. On weekends, she came home and helped with the support group, offering tea and kind eyes to the women who walked in guarded and left a little lighter. Marcus was 17 now, taller than Simone, deeper in voice and sharp with wit. He'd taken up photography, often disappearing with his camera to chase light and shadow through the city. Last Christmas, he handed Simone a small gift, a photo of her, taken candidly one morning, as she laughed at something Layla said, sunlight across her cheek, joy leaking through her defenses. He'd titled it Resilience. The photo now hung in their hallway beside an old one of Renee, back when they were girls at Coney Island, grinning with ice cream on their noses. Simone took another sip of coffee and smiled. Some mornings she still missed Renee so much it ached in her bones, but it wasn't a sharp pain anymore. It was like a scar, a healed reminder of the love that shaped her. On her wrist, she still wore the cloth bracelet from Malik, now faded but intact. Her phone buzzed. A message from Layla. On the train. Tell Marcus not to eat all the cereal. See you soon. Simone typed back, can't promise, but waffles will be ready. She set down her cup and opened the front door. The day waited, unfolding, unpredictable, alive. And for the first time in a long time, Simone didn't feel like she was just getting through it. She was living it, one sunrise at a time.